Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on Gary Chapman and through his stunningly beautiful song, A Treasure, we looked at what is actually important to us. So I trust you found that one encouraging. We're going from there to 1952, Belfast, Northern Ireland. We have one of the world's best guitarists today, iconic Virtuoso, with influences from blues, blues rock, hard rock, heavy metal, jazz and fusion. The guy we're talking about is Gary Moore. Now, Gary was influenced very much from frontman for Fleetwood Mac at the start, Peter Green. In fact, Peter ended up selling his 1959 Les Paul guitar to Gary Moore for £100. It's alleged that it was recently sold at auction between $750,000 and $1.5 million in 2006. So there we go. Eric Clapton, also a major influence of Gary Moore, and of course we know how versatile Eric Clapton is in his guitar work, so very much influenced from him. He started his career in 1968 with a band called Skid Row with longtime friend Phil Lynott, and there were 2 albums there. And then around that time, Phil said, well, I'm going to go and do my own thing. And so he started the iconic band Thin Lizzy, of course Phil on vocals and bass and Gary on guitar, and he hung around with them for about 4 years. After that, Gary thought, well, I'm going to go out and do my own thing because, I can sing and we all know how good my guitar playing is, so I'm just going to go out and do my whole thing. And so he had a solo career for the next few years, pretty much to the end of his career. He did come back with Phil Lynott a couple of times, including the iconic Out in the Fields 1985, which is a pretty amazing protest song about Northern Ireland. And between 1978 and 2002, there were 18 studio albums. This is solo albums, 9 live albums, 12 compilation albums, and 53 singles. People who have cited Gary Moore as an influence include Bryan Adams, the iconic Brian May from Queen, Bob Geldof, Ozzy Osbourne, Roger Taylor, just to name a few. According to Gary, he meant everything he did. He absolutely loved music. Gary, it was this incredible way of actually being able to recreate himself and to actually just go with the times. But also, I think, probably influenced by his childhood in Northern Ireland. He'd actually get out of Northern Ireland before the trouble started over there, but he very much, his heart was there and sadness around what was going on in his own country. So, and unfortunately, Gary did leave us in 2011 at the age of 58. He died of a heart attack, so it was a bit of a loss to the world that day. Such an absolutely talented guitarist, this guy, and singer, actually. But the best way to experience Gary Moore is to look at the clips to below, and I've got a few today. Let's start off with Parisienne Walkways. This came from the 1978 album Back on the Streets. This is considered one of Gary Moore's signature tunes. And here's a beautiful live performance with Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. Now, probably where I met Gary Moore was through the song Empty Rooms. This came off the Victim of the Future album from 1983. I've mentioned this song a couple of times in previous videos, Empty Rooms, where we learn to live without love. Such an iconic vocal in this particular clip. This is the official clip on this one. Incredible lead guitar solo in the middle, as you'd expect from Gary Moore. But the beautiful concept of, the reflectiveness of what happens when a relationship comes to an end. The house may have been full of life and laughter, but now it's just empty. And I think there's nothing like music to actually capture these feelings that we have. Of course, it's got the beautiful, the haunting vocals in it. Just the pace of the song is stunning. But then you just get brought to life with this iconic guitar solo in the middle. So we've got Empty Rooms. Now, I talked about Out in the Fields. This is probably another song that I met Gary Moore from first. This is with Phil Lynott, lifetime friend. This comes from the album Run for Cover from 1985. Very much a protest song, this one. Look at the uniforms that they're wearing, and one of the lines, no colour or religion ever stopped the bullet from a gun. Right there, this is saying, going right back to Northern Ireland, saying, hey guys, what are you doing? Think of the kids, think of the children, think of the young people and how you're destroying their lives. Just check out this lead guitar solo in the middle. There's a really good footage of what his fingers are doing here. Obviously, it's kind of an official clip, but you know, that's what Gary Moore can do. Absolutely shred the guitar, and there's just no shortage of how quick he can do what he does so well. So then we've got Out in the Fields, and also very surprised. In 1987, from the album Take a Little Time, he covered the Easy Beats at Friday on My Mind. This is an absolutely stunning version of this song. Again, pretty full on, a little bit more 80s with more bit of keyboard going on in there. Incredible backing vocals, incredible vocals from Gary Moore, and again, just awesome lead guitar solo in the middle. So we've got a pretty amazing version of Friday on My Mind. I reckon the Easy Beats would be pretty happy with that version. Of course, we're talking about Australian rock royalty right there. Now, I talked about Gary Moore's blues influences, and certainly when you put a bit of heavy distorted guitar with just a beautiful lyrical blues solo, it's a pretty amazing thing, and no one else like Gary Moore could actually do this. So we've still got the blues from 1990. This is a live version of that one from that album of the same name. And I thought, well, we better actually just show off Gary Moore's guitar playing just a little bit more. If we haven't done that enough already, we need to do it a bit more with this 8-minute, 9-second lead guitar solo. Gary takes us through every conceivable style, speed, slowness, lyricalness. We didn't think a guitar could do what it is actually doing here. But this is absolutely mesmerising right here. Now, unfortunately, this was only a year before Gary died, so it's pretty poignant to see that even right to the end of his career, he was actually playing pretty amazing guitar. So I thought we'd better put in one of these iconic Gary Moore lead guitar solos. I pity his band, he just has to kind of keep up with him, and they well and truly do that because, you know, to have someone as iconic as Gary Moore up the front, you've got to have an iconic bunch of guys behind you. So Gary Moore, you know, he is very much late 70s, learned his trade, 80s when we had a lot of people shredding their guitars back then. But the great thing about Gary Moore was that he did what the song needed. Sure, he did it really well and really quick, but it always fitted in with what the song needed, because as I've already said, for him, music was everything, and he meant everything that he did. And so, to me, it puts him in a bit of a category all of his own as one of the best guitarists ever, because, you know, he and his guitar were absolutely one. And when you put in there the fact he was a songwriter and a pretty amazing vocalist, we have an iconic 1970s, 80s artist right here. So the links to those 5 songs are in the description below. Actually 6 songs, pardon me for that. And I've also included my last video from Gary Chapman, just for something completely different. And so if you really want to recap on him, feel free. Well, if you've come back for another one, or this is your first time to Life Reflections for Music, thank you to everyone for hanging around. Really appreciating the engagement we've been getting of late. So that's it for today. Next time we're going to get on to 80s Aussie band Geisha. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.